Have you ever heard someone say that men have one rib fewer than women? If so, I'm guessing that you grew up in Sunday school. This is actually something that some Christians believe, and it's based in Genesis 2, or I should say a misreading of Genesis 2. So let's look at this ridiculous thing that some Christians say and see what would be better to say instead. Genesis 2, verse 21. And Yahweh God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he, that is God, took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahweh God took from the man made he a woman and brought her to the man. Now this is something you're going to find in a lot of translations. The Bible saying that God took a rib from the man and then from that created woman. Now before we get any further into this, let's just address what should be obvious here. Just because something happened to this first man, Adam, does not mean that that is true of all of the rest of us. So even if God took a rib out of Adam, which we'll find out in just a second, he didn't, that would not then mean that all men have one fewer rib. It would just mean that that was true of Adam. So just with a little bit of thought, that should hopefully come across as pretty ridiculous. But let's get into the deeper reason why this cannot be true. If you look at the Hebrew word translated rib in a lot of English Bibles, it's the word tselah. And tselah is a construction term. It is used of the side of a building. It does not mean rib, not in this passage and not in any other portion of the Bible. The word just means the side of something. So the image that Genesis 2 is portraying is not that God reached into the side of Adam and pulled out one rib and then made the woman. I really want to make a joke about how much for one rib right there, but I'll try to pass. It's not saying that. It's saying that God actually split the human in two and took from one of those sides and made another human. And then he reformed the other side to be Adam again. So he basically splits the human in two, and from that forms two separate humans. The word does not mean rib here or any other part of the Bible. It is a construction term that means side, and it is consistent with other construction language used of the creation of Eve at this point. So what would be better to say than this? Well, literally anything, because it's just not accurate. So if you ever hear someone saying that men have one fewer ribs than women, or that God made Eve from the rib of Adam, you can say definitely not to the first one, and not really to the second one either. God split the human in two and made two separate humans.